Hello everyone. I would like to continue with this lesson. This lesson said that we are solving a simple linear equation, but involving fraction. So why do we call it simple linear equation? Because it's actually quite simple that we clear the fraction first, and then we apply all the steps to solve for a simple equation. Okay, so what we have in this case is we are having Hello everyone. In this video, I would like to continue with this lesson right here. The lesson said that we are solving for simple linear equation by first clearing fraction. So our equation, the linear equation involving fractions. So in order for us to clear the fraction, we are going to look at what kind of method that we are going to use. Okay, so clearing the fraction means that you can just apply all the steps that you have been applied to solve for a linear equation. But in this case, we are just working with fractions. Okay, so first of all, we are going to take a look at this negative and negative, make it a positive. And at this step right here, at this step, no need to find any common denominators. All you have to do is just, okay, I have adding 6 over 7. I don't want 6 over 7 on this side of the equation because you need to isolate the x. So you subtract 6 over 7 on both sides of the equation. So when you subtract 6 over 7 on both sides of the equation, you automatically isolate the x, right? So you use your calculator to perform this step. And then you have the answer as a fraction as well in lowest term. And if you don't want to use a calculator, you can work with this method. That means that you can just go ahead and apply your lowest common denominator skills, take all the equivalent fractions, and then in the end, we still have the same answer as the answer that we have got. Okay, and then we double check and we know that is left hand side equal to the right hand side. All right, okay, so for the next example, what I have done is I will perform the method number 2. Okay, so in this particular video, I will go over method number 2. And I say method number 1, using the calculator, is the simplest method in this case, like I show everyone. You are clearing all the brackets, and then you add this fraction. You are having this sum as 53 over 21. And then because you have to isolate the x, so isolating the x, you want to get rid of 53 over 21 first, so you subtract 53 over 21 on both sides. Using the calculator, I end up with this fraction. And then I need to get rid of the negative 3. So multiply by negative 3. I divide it by negative 3 on both sides in order to isolate the x. So I write a fraction like this. Negative 65 over 84 divided by negative 3, because you need to identify that you are divided by minus 3. So using your calculator, you are having this answer. So basically, if we work with fraction, we have a choice that we can just use a calculator. And then you can just apply all the steps that we have applied for solving for simple linear equation. Is that whatever you do on this side of the equation, you do the exact same thing on the other side. And the purpose is to choose the operation that you can get rid of the you can isolate your unknown. You can get rid of what's surrounding the unknown, right? So in this case, you need to get rid of the addition first. Okay, so you add, so you subtract. Okay, so here you multiply, therefore you divide. But you need to subtract first so that you can subtract on the other side as well. And then your last step is to divide both sides by negative 3. Okay, so if you don't want to use this step, we can just go ahead and use another method. Okay, so this method requires us to know our fraction really well. And in previous courses, we have worked with fraction already. Okay, so basically what I have done here is I'm going to review. Okay, I'm going to review this for everyone, how to work with a fractional equation and choosing our lowest common denominator. Let's say I'm not touching the calculator. Okay, so now lowest common denominators means that you are going to find a number that divide evenly into 7, 3, 4. And in this case, it should be 1 here. You turn that into a fraction as well. So you turn everything in this equation into a fraction. Okay, so 7, 3, 4. So I know that lowest common denominator would be 84. Okay, 84 divided evenly by 7, divide evenly by 3, divide evenly by 4. That means the remainder is equal to 0. Take 84 divided by 7, remainder equals 0. 83 divided by 3, remainder equal to 0. 84 divided by 4, remainder equal to 0. And the 84 happens to be the lowest number. Okay, so you cannot get a higher number than 84. Okay, so 84 is the lowest common multiple of 7, 3, and 4, and 1. Okay, and because it's a denominator, therefore we call it the lowest common denominators. So to work with this, using this method, it means that I have to turn everything in this equation to have the same denominator of 84. Okay, so that's what I've done. We need to have everything in this equation turned into an 84 as the denominators. Then we have to apply the equivalent fraction step. That means, okay, so now take a look at this. I have 1 as the denominators up here, right? So this 1. So I make that into an 84. That means I need to multiply. Okay, so you multiply this by 83. I mean 84. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said 83. So 84. Maybe because I look at the 3. So here's my negative 3x. I need to multiply this with 83. Again, I repeat 83. I'm sorry. It's 84. Okay. Excuse me. I just took a sip of tea. So hopefully with this tea, it will help me saying the right thing now. Okay, I apologize everyone. It's 84, alright? So now you see that equivalent fraction means whatever you multiply the denominator by, you must multiply the same number with the numerators. So from 1, I have the common denominator at 84. That means the operation is to multiply. So I multiply 1 by 84. So I do the same thing, multiply 84 with the numerator. In this case is negative 3x. I multiply that with 84. Okay, so I wrote that, I put it in the brackets here. Okay, so now the next step is to go to the second fraction. This is 84. From 7, I must multiply by a number to get to 84. Okay, so now you see that I multiply by 12. Okay, so 7 multiplied by 12 will give me 84. So that means I need to take 6 and I multiply that by 12 as well. Okay, because I multiply 7 by 12 to get 84. So I need to take 12 multiplied by 6 because this is equivalent fraction. So now you do the same thing here. Okay, from 3 you go to 84. Then you must multiply this by 28. Right? So you can use a calculator to check. 3 times 28 will give me 84. So this I have to multiply by 28. Okay, so allow me to do this. Please allow me to do this. I will rewrite this to give myself some room. Okay. Okay, so the original equation is like this. Negative 3x, I'm going to write it as 1. And then I am adding that with 6 over 7. I add that with 5 over 3. And I have 7 over 4 on this side. Alright, so then I say my lowest common denominator is equal to 84. So that means I multiply this by 84, and then I say I multiply this by 12. Okay, and then I multiply this by 28. So that means 5 multiplied by 28. Okay, and on this side, in order for me to go from 4 to 84, as a multiplication, I must multiply by 21. If I take 4, I multiply by 21, I will get 84. So that means the 7 here will have to multiply by 21. Alright, so you probably ask me, how do I figure out all of this number? The 12, the 28, the 21. Okay, so I can show you a trick. Let me rewrite this 12. I can show you a trick. Okay, so what you do is you are going from 7, 84. You take 84, you divide it by 7. Okay, 84 divided by 7, I got 12. Okay, and then from here, I take 84 divided by 3, I got 28. I take 84, I divided by 4, I get 21. Okay, so it's just the multiplication and the division are the opposite operation of each other. And that's how we have to perform this equivalent fraction. Okay, so this is called equivalent fraction. Okay, I mentioned in previous video that we have another method to solve a fractional equation. This is called equivalent fraction, using our knowledge to figure out the lowest common denominators, and then we perform the equivalent fraction, and then we simplify. Okay, so the next step is to let's see what we have with the denominator. Okay, so now, because the purpose of taking lowest common denominators is to perform the operation in the numerators. So the 84 stay the same. Okay, now on the top, I should have this as negative 252x. And then I add that with 72. I add that with 140. And right here, I should have 147. Okay, so 6 times 12 will give me 72. 5 times 28 will give me 140. 7 times 21 will give me 147. Negative 3x times 84 give me negative 252x. Alright, so now what you have to do next is you multiply both sides by 84. Okay, I multiply both sides by 84. Whatever you do on this side, you do the exact same thing on the other side, right? So why do I do this? Because I need to get rid of the denominators. Alright, now my next step is to write my what you do is you are going to add 72 and 140. Okay, take 72, add 140. So in this case, I should have plus 212. Okay, so now my next step is to subtract 212 on both sides. So this, cancel that. And what do I have next? I will write this as such. Now, 147, subtract this, I should have negative 65. Okay, so you can go ahead and check that. Negative 65. Now, so I need to divide both sides by negative 252. Okay, so now that, cancel that. I should just have x left. Okay, so x is equal to, now you have negative divided by a negative. Your answer should be positive. Okay, so that exact same result that we have achieved by just using the very simple method, we use calculator. Okay, use calculator, concentrate on the concept of whatever you do on one side of the equation, you do the exact same thing on the other side. And the only difference is you just work with your fraction and number. And we just use calculator to work with. Excuse me. For this method number 2 is when you don't touch the calculator. Okay, you don't touch the calculator. You are working with fractions and finding the lowest common denominator, perform the equivalent fraction, and simplify. And right here is when you apply all the simplification steps with solving for the linear equation. But I do feel this is quite complicated. Okay, in working with mathematics, you may want to concentrate on the very simplest step, and you don't want to go through all of this. Okay, however, a lot of students like to go through this, and like I mentioned in previous video, I said that there are some equations that you may have to immediately apply the lowest common denominators and also perform the equivalent fractions and then simplify at the end like this. Okay, because some equation you cannot just use calculator right away. Okay, so this lesson will lead to the next lesson where I will review with everyone to work with fractional equation, and sometimes we can avoid this step. We cannot avoid the step that finding the lowest common denominators. Okay, in previous video I kind of rushed, and then I give everyone the solution, but I think I've gone over everything already, right? So what we have done is we are going to clear the brackets, and in this case is the absolute values. Absolute values mean that whatever inside the absolute value, you drop the absolute value here, drop the absolute symbol for the notation for the absolute values, you turn that into a positive. Absolute values mean that you only concentrate on the magnitude. You don't want to take a look where the number is on the number line. So on the number line, this should be a negative, but the absolute values mention that I just want the magnitude of that. Okay, the magnitude of that would just be 3/14. So I drop the absolute values bracket. I replace with the normal brackets. You see that turn into a positive right here. So a negative turn into a positive. Use calculator, multiply them. This, I should get negative 3/2. And I perform the step on the same step on both sides of the equation. Okay, so right here is when you do the same thing. Even though you multiply by a fraction, you can just divide it by a fraction. In this case, you divide it by a negative fraction, right? So here is your fraction. So you just divide that by the same fraction. That means it's right here. And then calculator, okay? You use calculator and that's giving you the answer. So if you don't want to use this simplify method, you can just go ahead and use the complicated method that I've shown up here. Okay, that means we are going to find the common denominators, and then from the common denominator we will get to our final answer. Okay, so in this case, this should be quite simple. Okay, however, I think everyone want to stick with the simple step. All right. Okay. I think I have said everything that I need to say for this lesson, and I just want to remind everyone that I have quite a few exercises for everyone to work on. Okay, and these are the questions that I assign for everyone to work on, and solution are posted online. Okay, and I strongly believe that everyone will just want to stick with the simple method. And if you are allowed to use a calculator, then you just use calculator. All right, thank you.